resource here in Florida. It's what the whole peninsula of Florida rests on. It's what the city of Rockledge named after. Rockledge, first city incorporated over on this side. The whole length of it runs along the river with the large Bikini Rock wall or Bikini Rock ledge running that distance. Then our local Native Americans, the Iais, they utilized this very stretch of island for probably over 1,000 years. Now, what did they call Rocky Waters? O'Galley, and that's where we're headed towards. That's O'Galley Causeway out in front of us. We're going to get up in the Banana River up by O'Galley Yacht Club. O'Galley and Melbourne were two separate entities, and O'Galley is actually the larger of the two by far. Melbourne was just this little community on the banks of the lagoon that nobody had ever really heard of. Then as the big steamboats started coming down through here and transportation era started growing, so did Melbourne. Never looking back, absorbing in these smaller communities. Now today you have Melbourne Beach, South Melbourne Beach, West Melbourne, Melbourne. In the middle of that is the Melbourne International Airport, which is a huge hub for all these big Air Force contracts. Paris Corps, Boeing, Lockheed, and many others. Now we're coming up to Miss Betty here on this next dock. Up on the roof, you'll see there's an osprey nest, and you look real close. Mama Betty, she is right in the middle of the nest, and she's looking at us as we're going by here. We've been running this route for 9 years. She has came back to this exact same nest all 9 years. So she's been coming here longer than we have, that's for sure. And it's just amazing because same pair of ospreys, they'll come in here, they show up. It's about a 7-month process from the time they show up to the time their young nestlings are out catching their own fish and doing their own thing. Well, when they do, when those nestlings do that, mom and dad split. They part ways. They don't see each other for a good 4 months or so until they show back up at that exact same nesting area. And they'll do that for over 30 years. So there's their key to a successful relationship, is making a nice little break from each other. Works pretty well for them, that's for sure. Now, coming up to the next dock, this is one of Miss Betty's offspring from about 4 years ago. This is her 3rd year back here, and she's still learning how to build a nest. Now, her eggs will be fertile next year or possibly the year after that. Last year, she would bring the debris up there and it would blow away. At least this year she has it sticking up there, but there's no organization to it. So hopefully by the end of the year she's going to learn how to build that nest. She'll come in here and mate next year, and she'll be able to do it all by herself next year. But what a beautiful bird. You see that band that goes across her eyes. They're also known as a fish hawk because they are strictly aquatic eaters. And that band is what deflects the glare that comes off the water. All right, so we go from one of the more modern boathouses. This is just a boathouse. The main house is over on the other side of Tropical Trail on Banana. But you go from one of the more modern boathouses to one of the older boathouses out here in front of us. Boy, if this boathouse could talk here, it would have some stories to tell, that's for sure. But as we come up here, notice the pilings are encased in cement. Now this is something they haven't been allowed to do for a very long time. And it's probably the only reason it's still standing, because during Hurricane Irma, this thing was over halfway underwater. Now, not only is it still standing, but they used it last summer. Now, whenever you see the areas with pilings like that that are encased in cement, you know you got some good history to it. We'll see that as we get a little further south. You'll see some of this natural Bikini Rock up underneath the tree line, very rugged and jagged. Almost has a volcanic look. Well, we know nothing's volcanic, it's just a type of limestone. Roads away, it leaves that very sharp edge to it, very rugged, jagged look to it. All right, coming up to the Mac Daddy of Osprey Nest right here. This is like the Osprey condominium on this next dock. And what's different about this nest here, notice the residents, okay, got mama and daddy up there in the nest, but notice the residents are entertainers. Who want to have friends or family over, watch a beautiful sunset, cook out some burgers? Well, the problem is ospreys are extremely territorial. And if you try to walk out on that dock and you go too slow, Daddy Osprey is going to come down and smack you right in the back of the head, didn't he? That's how territorial they are. But if you walk out there pretty quick, get underneath the roof, you're pretty well safe. But they are extremely territorial. Remember, they got those big old 3-inch long talons, so it's not just a slap with the wing. They have sent people to the hospital to get stitches before with those big old sharp talons they got. A few years back, they actually tore that roof down to get rid of the nest, which is perfectly legal. They're allowed to do that in the off season.